Hey everybody, so we are going to do a quick refresher course on our 412 House of Values. I just feel like it's something that we should do every now and then. And so the first one that we deal with when we come to 412 and what we believe and who we are is going to be just a simple fact that Jesus is better. That's our number one house value. It's what sticks out the most from the wall. It's something that we're going to preach. It's something that we're going to believe. But the question then becomes, how do we prove that? What do we do to be a place that says Jesus is better? Well, Hebrews 12 says, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us or ensnare us or trap us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. So then the question becomes, how do we do that? Okay, if that's proving that Jesus is better, okay, laying aside all these weights and the sins that trap us and getting rid of all of these things so that we can continue to move on for Christ, then how do we do that? How do I accomplish that in everyday life? Well, it tells you in verse 2. It says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So here's the point. If you want to prove that Jesus is better, look to Jesus. Because Jesus is the one that gave us everything. Jesus is the one that endured all this, endured the cross and all that came with it, the shame that came with the cross, because there was a joy set before him. And he looked at that joy and said, you know what, because of that joy, I'm going to go through all these things. You know what that joy was? It was you. It was you. He looked and saw AJ or uncles and said, because I want a relationship with him and I want to have fellowship with him, I will endure the cross, I'll endure the shame, I'll endure the mocking, the spitting, the beating, and everything that happens because he is worth it to me. So then in my life, what I must do, the requirement for me, not for salvation, but because of salvation, the requirement for me has to be, I look and say that Jesus is better. And because he looked at me and said, I'll endure the cross for him, I've got to look at him and say, I'll endure this life for him. I'll live without things that everybody else has, without the quote unquote joys and pleasures that everybody else has. Because why? I love Christ, because Jesus is better than all those things. And Jesus looked at you and said, you are better than me having to not go through or not going through the cross and all that brings with it. You are better to me than that. And I have got to look at him and you have got to look at him. And 412 will be a place where we look at Christ and say, he is better than anything we have to go through in this life, and we will choose Jesus over anything. That's why Jesus is better. Today, pray for Allie. Their family over the weekend had to attend a funeral, and I think for her aunt, and so they just pray for their family that they would be comforted, and that she'd have a good week following up after having to go through something hard like that. All right, have a good day.